So, with our president unpopular as he is right now, in the last 8 years, resulting in very difficult economic times and a lot of controversy about the accuracy of the intelligence and the general wisdom of the decision to invade Iraq, and the tremendous cost and huge deficit we've had, along with the mortgage crisis, people ask, why is John McCain tied or slightly behind or a little bit ahead of Barack Obama? And initially I thought, well, maybe it's part of a right-wing conspiracy to have education kind of weak so people vote against their own interests, because Republicans basically say we're going to withhold funding of liberal welfare programs which benefit the middle class and the poor. And right now there's so many needs in the middle class that they'll benefit from most broader social welfare programs. And the Democrats, who clearly are talking about taxing the top income earners and the corporations, and want to redistribute the wealth to the working class and the middle class, are somehow not getting the impression across, or are deeply distrusted by this so-called swing vote. So there's been sort of a stereotype. So what I'm trying to say bluntly is that if you're voting against your own economic self-interest, you might be uneducated, or what they like to call nowadays low information voter, or in other words, stupid. But I actually went back and looked at education levels on Kerry Bush, and I'm not going to ruin what I'm saying by nitpicking at how Kerry or Bush had this or that, but they were fundamentally, wasn't the big differentiator. It's not that working class people are voting against their economic self-interest because they're stupid. That's not why, from what we can see. So what's really going on, you have to peel away the onion to get to the arguments of the two campaigns, and both of them don't want to admit the merits of the other side, so you never hear the truth from anybody. So I'm going to tell it to you. And the truth is that the Republican approach to our problems is to govern least. He who governs least governs best. This attracts the support of the moneyed class because they are the ones who get the biggest bite taken out of them, and they also are capable of literally competing with the government for dominance in industries once they get big enough. If you're a Microsoft or a Google, who makes a bigger impact in technology, Google or and they don't want their sovereignty infringed. So they right along with the Republican philosophy of he who governs least governs best. Then once they're in control in Washington, the temptation arises, and we've seen the worst pork barreling on both sides for the last 8 years, but obviously the Republicans have the lion's share of the blame on the ballooning of the federal deficit. I won't say obviously, you do your own research, you tell me. So we've had this terrible fox guarding the henhouse problem under Bush, and so why is John McCain doing so well against Barack Obama, considering that the Bush administration is really poorly viewed and the economy's in terrible straits? And so we talked about what the Republican approach is, and it was completely exemplified by their convention. And in their convention, they gave some, superheroic stories of the young soldier gives his all, what happened with McCain, the remarkable story of personal, let's say Sarah Palin has accomplished a lot, considering where she started. These people are all extremely driven people, and it makes me ask, what about for people that are not able to lift themselves up from their own bootstraps? What happens to them? Because there didn't seem to be a whole lot of talk about that at the convention, yet here he is in the position that he's in. So the Democratic approach to the problems of our time is to increase support for domestic programs to improve social mobility by making education and health upper level education, college education, more along the lines of a human right, along with health care. And the risk, obviously, of their approach is that the government intervenes heavily in the marketplace. A lot of money is put in, there isn't much result. And when you have the example of the teachers union, where it is difficult to get rid of low-performing workers because of the job security. And as a manager myself, I don't think that the best way to get the teachers union to perform is to beat on their lowest performing people. I think if you have a demoralized or underpaid profession, you can sort of set up a baseline and get people rallied and charged up and get some better performance. And then my own policy is to spend as little as possible on the low performers so I can buy new people so they can show the low performers what they should be doing, and that shames the low performers into moving on or trying to emulate the results of somebody who's executing their job competently. That's been my way of dealing with it. So we have the problem with the Democratic Party that we're concerned about whether increased federal spending is really the answer. And so either approach can work. A he who governs least governs best approach with smart incentives and smart guidance. You can run with a lightweight government. In fact, Clinton ran with a lighter weight government than either Reagan or Bush in many respects. So it can be done, but there's a huge risk that we're going to see we have not had a raise the middle class in America since 1970, because it's when you zigzag it all out, zero-sum gain. We want a raise. And the big corporations and the wealthy have gotten huge raises. So how are we going to get this raise? And there's a trickle-down theory, which in my opinion is not working right now. And then there's a trickle-up theory, which is by re-energizing our working and middle classes through better support, they'll buy more, they'll do more, the country will get moving, and then the corporations will flourish because they've got more educated workers, healthier workers, less stressed out workers. So on the side of the supply side, or the private business will solve the problem approach, with good execution you can get results with that philosophy. And the same with the Democratic approach, by supporting education, supporting healthcare, supporting creating a retooling of our society for energy independence and sustainability. This could all be great. So what really puzzles me is, so we know the downside, the Democratic side would be there would be waste in this area. So the only remaining issue, well, let's resolve this. So what confuses me is how people could possibly take the risk of voting for John McCain and the tremendous economic risk they themselves will suffer in the next 4 years in a heartless capitalist model. And so this is a much bigger risk than taxing the rich and funding social welfare programs right at the moment. And so then you have to say, well, how competent would Biden and Obama be at getting people motivated to do this and not waste our money and time? I really think that this guy's got a great headwind to motivate half of the workers in the federal government to work really hard. I don't see any evidence that Obama represents bloated old boy networks from the design of his campaign. So the risk seems low to try the Democratic approach, and high to try the Republican approach. So it only leaves one remaining issue, and that one remaining issue is security.